In December 2023, I had the opportunity to take part in my very first pantomime, which took place on the Mayflower stage in Southampton. It was Snow White and the Seven, and I did all of it pregnant. I am 32 weeks pregnant now. And this was not the plan. The plan was actually no more babies, but hey ho, life happens, and so we pressed on. We did 2 shows a day, 6 days a week for 3 weeks, and 2 weeks of rehearsals before that, and that is a short run for pantomime. I thought I would give you a little bit of insight into my experience and a little bit of a day in the life of a pantomime actor. So in January 2023, I was asked if I'd like to be put forward for pantomime, and I said yes. And then I was asked to do a self-tape, which is basically like a little self-recorded audition. And I have not actually looked back at this video until I put it into this video because I was so nervous and I would cringe at myself and I never wanted to see it. I procrastinated hard about doing it, and I actually ended up doing it while I was on holiday in Italy. And so I had to do it by Airbnb, which was kind of weird, but anyway, I was nervous because the last time I did any acting, I was pretty insecure and it was just a terrible time. So I sent it off, and fortunately the news came back very quickly that I had been accepted and that I was going to be part of the pantomime. So I was pretty excited about this. And then on Midsummer's Day, I made the discovery that I was pregnant with Eden. And this was very much a shock. It was not the plan. But things seemed to be going well, so we continued. I had very mixed feelings, but I continued, and my agent was very nice about it when I told her, and she checked in with the production company, and they were fine with it too. They were very happy to have me on board, and they just did like any other job, and they gave me a risk assessment, and they took great care of me. It was lucky that this particular pantomime didn't rely on the Seven Dwarfs so much, because we also had Diversity, the dance troupe, and they took up a lot of time and space on stage, so that kind of helped. The first week of rehearsals was in London, and I decided to commute that week from home, and that made it quite easy for me because it meant that I could come home and sleep in my own bed. And then the second week of rehearsals was actually in Southampton, so that was even easier still. I had chosen Southampton because it's my hometown, and I was lucky enough to be accepted onto that one. There are many that run throughout the UK every year. Because it was my hometown, it was quite fun to see the posters. We weren't on it, unfortunately, because there wasn't space. And despite being in the title, we weren't actually on stage very much at all, but that was okay by me. And then this happened. I was asleep peacefully one night in bed, and I was suddenly woken up by an intense pain on the side of my face because the log slice that lived on a shelf above our bed had fallen down, having not moved for many years, and we still don't know how it fell. And it basically, what we think happened, it bounced off the edge of the bed onto my face, which hurt a lot. And I was very shaken up for quite a long time, and it took me a long time to feel settled enough to go back to sleep. Needless to say, it went through several shades of interesting colours over the following days, and fortunately for me, the scrapes were quite superficial, and I could cover a lot of it up with makeup, which was all done by me every single day. So every single day after show notes were done, we would head up to dressing rooms and we would get ready for the production. It was a fairly lengthy process, and I used all natural products, and my skin actually was fine the whole way through. Obviously, the makeup that you wear on stage is far more bold than perhaps a look that you would wear every day, because your face needs to be seen on stage, and all that lighting can tend to sort of bleach you out and wash you out, and your expressions get lost. And then this was the finished look. Now, I wasn't that keen on the costume, but I liked the colour that mine was, and the slippers were very warm and pretty snazzy. So that was good because my feet are often cold, and honestly, the first time when I saw the costume, I was like, oh my god, really? But the baby bump didn't look out of place. So after the first show, it was lunchtime, and I used this company, All Plants, which unfortunately now doesn't exist. And I was using these pre-made vegan meals to basically make sure that my nutrition didn't suffer while I was working. And we had about 3 hours gap between the shows. One day I actually had enough energy to venture out, and I found this wonderful place called Me Rice, which had several vegan options on the menu. And I had the small portion, but it was still huge and it was so delicious. And even though I was pregnant, I ate the whole damn thing. It was so good. If you want noodles in Southampton, I definitely recommend Me Rice. After lunch, I'd always take the opportunity for a quick nap. Time for a nap. I've been finding that having a nap every day, even just for like 10 minutes, has really been helping me get through panto season. So I have a cushion that I brought from home. It's like a heart shape. It needs a wash. It's a little dirty. But I have a cushion that I brought from home, and I literally just lay myself over it. And quite often I'll put like a tissue just under my face. Protects my makeup, but also stops makeup getting on here. And yeah, I just sometimes I put on like a pregnancy meditation, other times I'll just snooze. But I often have a little gap between shows where I can just relax and no one's going to be in here except me. So I just really prioritize taking the time to rest. It's so crucial. So crucial, I can't even begin to really explain. But yeah, so it's time. There were definitely times when it got hard. It is Christmas Eve and we've done one show already and we've got one more to go. The house is open, and so basically that means that the audience is starting to fill the auditorium. I'm tired. I'm laughing and I don't look too bad, but I'm very tired. I've definitely got a cold, which is somewhat inevitable. After that, it was back in my car and I could head home. Hard and you're around a lot of people and everyone's getting something because we're all working hard and however, I do think that it's not been as bad as it might have been if I hadn't been doing some things, if I hadn't been taking time to rest when I'm home, which has been a bit challenging in the last few days just because like John's not been well either, and it's Christmas, so, and the intensity of the work schedule basically guarantees that you're going to get something at some point. I don't know how much of a difference it's made. I have been using this, which is, it's not something I would normally buy, but someone recommended it to me, and it's basically salt spray with carrageenan, and carrageenan is it's a food product, usually that's how I know of it, and it basically is kind of sticky, so I don't have any aches and pains, but I definitely have some nasal stuff going on. And we'd go on for the second show, and then I could go home and get back in my car. I'm back in my car. It's about 9:30. I'm not gonna lie, it does feel pretty good to actually come out of the stage door and then have people waiting, and they want like your signature in the program, and one lady even wanted a photograph with me. And generally speaking, like, that doesn't happen every night. People mostly are waiting for the bigger names, but at least for a minute or two I can pretend like I'm some kind of celebrity. And yeah, so now it's just for a short drive home, and then when I get home it'll be time to take off all this makeup and get into comfy pajamas and just relax. Maybe have something to eat, but nothing too big this late at night. And then I get up in the morning and I do it all over again. 6 days a week, 2 shows a day for 3 weeks, and that is a short run. So yeah, I'm just about to drive home. And then all that makeup that I put on at the end of the day would come off again, and I'd be back to just regular old Jessica. And then I'd go to bed and wake up and do it all over again. Would I do pantomime again? Probably not, if I'm completely honest with myself. And there were a few things, there were a few reasons why. And I think just the biggest reason for me right now is that I have a young family, and being away from them all through the Christmas period and the lead up to Christmas isn't something that I enjoyed. And it puts a lot of pressure on John to do a lot of the solo parenting. And it was okay maybe when, we didn't have Eden, but I was offered pantomime again this year, this January 2025, and I said no. Because I just, well, no, because it must have been January 2024, and I said no. Because also it would have been Eden's first Christmas, and I just couldn't imagine going away and spending so much time away from my family at Christmas time. So that was a big reason why I don't think I would do it again. Secondly, it really wasn't that challenging. Like, it wasn't interesting enough for me. I'm grateful to have had the experience. I will always say yes to things that I haven't tried before to see if it's a good fit for me. I think that's a good way to do life, is to experiment. And this particular pantomime, from what I learned from other actors who had more experience than me, is that because of diversity, who were spectacular, no questions asked, they took up so much of the space, as it were, the time on stage, that although the 7 are in the title, we really didn't get a look in, and so there really wasn't much to do. It was kind of like Snow White and who? Snow White and diversity? It was like we just weren't in it, really. We probably had a collective 10 minutes on stage. So that was another factor. Obviously, people were trying to reassure me that not every production is the same, and that's true. But the other reason that I think that I might not do pantomime again is I am someone who really thrives on variety. I need to be able to do things, different things, mix it up, do it my own way, have something that's just a bit different. This is obviously the same show twice a day for however many weeks, and that was a very short run. It was only 3 weeks. Most pantomimes run longer. They start in November and they run all the way through to maybe early January, beyond the new year. We did our last performance, and it was just a matinee, and I was very grateful for that. We did our last performance on the 31st of December, so that meant that I got to spend New Year's Eve with my family at home. So I just, it got to me after a while, the same show again and again, no variety. And I just think that if I had done a longer run, I don't know, 3 weeks was enough. And I was so tired. Like, we only got 1 day off a week, and that was Mondays. So we got Christmas Day off, and then I was back at work Boxing Day, and in work Christmas Eve. And there's a little sleepy baby. Go back to sleep, darling. Lie down. Lie down. Aww. Mommy's here. So yeah, that was my pantomime adventure. And I'll be back with another video really soon. Bye guys.